recent incidents of insecurity in my senatorial district is abating gradually, and to express the gratitude of my senatorial district to His Excellency, the President of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and to further elucidate or point out at some salient security issues we still have in the senatorial district and in Nigeria in totality. These I've previously discussed with His Excellency, and with your permission, I think if you allow me to read my motion, I'll be exceedingly happy and grateful to you, sir. On generality of insecurity in Nigeria, especially the northern side. And like I said, when we talk of northern side, we might be a little bit economical about the truth because it's affecting a greater part of southwest and southern states too. Mr. President, urgent need to address escalating insecurity in Kwara, Kebbi, and Niger states called for immediate and comprehensive federal intervention. The Senate, deeply disturbed by the horrific attack on Christ Apostolic Church, Eruku, in Ekiti local government area of Kwara State on November 18, 2025, during which heavily armed assailants invaded a place of worship, killed 2 innocent worshippers, and abducted 38 persons, all of whom, by the grace of Almighty God, by leave of our President, have since been freed following coordinated security operations. Notes with grave concern that the attack compelled school closures in 5 local government areas in Kwara State: Ekiti, Isin, Irekpodun, Ifelodun, and Okero, all in Kwara South, across the entire Niger and Kebbi State, and in all the 47 federal unity schools nationwide, thereby disrupting the education of thousands of children and exposing the death of national trauma and fear. Alarmed that this incident formed part of worsening national pattern, including the recent kidnapping of school children in Kebbi and Niger State, demonstrating the acute vulnerability of schools and worship centers across Nigeria to terrorist and bandit attacks. Further concerned that credible reports indicate military personnel were withdrawn from affected Kebbi school just hours before the bandit struck, raising grave questions that demand transparent and urgent investigation. Disturbed that intelligence reports revealed the involvement of internal collaborators, often driven by economic and political desperation, who aid criminal groups with information, logistics, and escape routes, thereby exacerbating national insecurity. Aware that attackers demonstrate increasing sophistication by intercepting communications, conducting surveillance on schools, worship centers, and markets, and scavenging personal items after raids across multiple states. Observe that criminals continue to exploit porous forest corridors, including the Kwara-Kogi axis, Kebbi-Sambara corridor, and Niger State, Shiruru, Rafim, Muniya region, complicating security missions and interstate security coordination. Further note that the affected communities of Eruku, Isakpakoro, where a traditional leader and a retired army general was brutally murdered by bandits, are predominantly Ekiti, with affinity to other Ekiti of Southwest, but geographically located in Kwara State. And observe with concern that information has it that urgent activities are now spreading into Osun State, signaling a dangerous expansion of security crisis. Also note that Idofin Umuaran, Eruku, Kwara State, Stroke, Egbe, and Kaba in Kogi State, Federal Highway remain in severe disrepair, enabling criminals to ambush travelers and escape after attacks and exploit footpaths for concealment. Further concerned that Kwara South alone has recorded over 40 abductions in the last 18 months, mirrors similar surge in neighboring states and contributing to a broader national crisis affecting schools, farms, worship centers, and rural communities. Worry that continued inaction risks mass displacement, prolonged school closures, collapse of rural livelihoods, and long-time psychological trauma among children and vulnerable populations. Commends President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for his exemplary leadership and swift response to Eruku, Kebbi, and Niger attacks, particularly his decision to cancel his scheduled foreign trips in order to personally coordinate and oversee security efforts at home, demonstrating his commitment to the safety and well-being of Nigerian citizens and the federal government's ongoing efforts and resource development to address insecurity in affected areas, which has led to the release of 51 students in Niger State and all the 338 abducted worshippers in Kwara State. Acknowledges the courage, unity, and resilience of people of Kwara South, particularly Ekiti people, especially the local vigilante, and similarly recognizes the resilience of communities in Kebbi and Niger State. The Senate therefore resolved to 1, call on communities in Kwara, Kebbi, Niger, and across Nigeria to remain united, vigilant, and supportive of security efforts while resisting internal collaborators who undermine national security. 2, commend President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and security agencies for their rapid intervention and urge them to sustain coordinated operations until all abducted persons nationwide are rescued and perpetrators apprehended. All the Federal Ministry of Works to commence immediate reconstruction of Idofin Umuaran, Eruku, Egbe, Kaba axis, Federal Highway axis. 4, mandate the Nigerian Army, Police, DSS, and Defense Intelligence Bureau to intensify intelligence-driven operations, including area surveillance, forest combing, cross-state collaborations, and community-based intelligence system across Kwara, Kogi, Kebbi, Niger, and other hotspots in Nigeria. 5, call for establishment of a joint task force covering the Kwara-Kogi corridor with 4 operating bases Ineruku, Babana, Okero, and Isandu. 6, direct the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and NEMA to provide immediate relief support to traumatized families and affected communities, especially where schools have been shut down. 7, mandate the Senate to investigate the root causes of rising insecurity and the role of internal collaborators and report back within 14 days. 8, advise the federal government to strengthen the local vigilante to be able to respond swiftly to similar attacks in future. This should also include a review of Nigerian firearm law to reflect the current security challenges as we have in over 175 countries where responsible citizens are permitted to own guns. 9, mandate the Senate to investigate the sudden withdrawal of military personnel from the Kebbi school shortly before the bandits' invasion and report back urgently. 10, resolve that the Senate undertake a diplomatic engagement with the United States of America and other allied nations' parliaments to strengthen cooperation on intelligence sharing, counter-terrorism training, and technological support in addressing Nigerian security challenges. Yes. Observe a 2-minute silence for the memory of the departed souls. I so submit, Your Excellency.
Deputy Leader of the Senate. Mr. President, we can clearly observe that the rate of kidnappings and banditry activities increased all over the country just after President Trump made a statement about the possibility of the United States.
President who?
President Trump of the United States. Of the United States.
Yes.
Made a statement showing his intention, the intention of his country to intervene militarily because of...
Tell Senator Mustafa not to interrupt you.
I'm protected.
He said, I'm not looking at that side. I'm seeing everywhere. I only wanted you to clarify who was Trump. So anybody can bear Trump.
Okay.
And you can even be a president of a tennis club. So that's why I said president what?
Yeah.
And which country, and then you clarified.
So since he made that statement, showing the possibility of the United States to intervene militarily here in order to deal with the perceived notion that there's a genocide of Christians in Nigeria. Since then, the spate of these terrorist activities have increased in this country, which shows that those who are into this heinous crime do not love our country. They don't love our country. So they want to propel that intention of the United States, but they shall never succeed. Mr. President, we are facing challenges as a nation. We have faced several challenges before now. Before now, of course, it was the issue of armed robbery. Armed robbery everywhere in this country. But we're able to deal with that problem. And we shall also, by grace of God, deal with this problem where we no longer hear about these heinous crimes being, committed on our land. Before now, it was difficult for you to travel along our road networks without being attacked by armed robbers. But we're able to deal with this problem when the deployment of technology came in, and then we had a cashless policy in line with international best practices. That has stopped. Not even that. Recently, we're faced with COVID-19. We're able to deal with the problem. The United States, that is best put in place in terms of military power in the whole world, had a similar problem when it was attacked by terrorists. Thousands were killed. But they were able to deal with their problem within the United States and even had assistance from all over the world. They were assisted. Now, what do we do in this situation? What we need to do in this situation is to look inwards and try to deal with our problem. This problem is surmountable, and we shall surmount the problem by the collective zeal of the Nigerian people. How do we do this? Bring in the efforts of everyone. The issue of security is a security for all. It's something that is for all of us. It doesn't reside on the shoulders of the federal government alone, nor the state governments, nor the local governments. Everybody has to come together. We need to come together by way of making sure that, now, as we speak, the state governments are having a wonderful time making more money, right? Also, the local governments. So we need to come together, harness what is necessary, what is important for us to achieve our aim of eliminating this issue of insecurity, so that, for instance, every state of the federation, because these problems, the route used by the terrorists are interconnected from one state to the other. So if for instance, we decide to deal with the problem in one state alone, that will not produce the necessary result. So all the states must be doing the same thing at the right time, at the same time. Deploy technology by way of making sure, because everybody knows that by the time you have surveillance, drones and what have you, you'll be able to see these people that move in convoy. They move in convoy to commit these atrocities. So we should deploy technology and have our men trained, because the military is doing its best. We know they are doing their best, but we need to come together and help them. So every state should be able to secure its own area by way of collaborating with the military, with all the security agencies. We should be able to do that all over the country. And when we're able to do that, I think we can find a solution to this problem. Leaving the matter alone for federal government will not work. As I said earlier, the United States, when it got into problem, everybody came on board. Even, foreign countries came to assist the United States. That was the United States for you, but the number one military power in the world. So we should also seek assistance from overseas, from our partners, from our allies, so that we can put our efforts together and deal with this problem. It's surmountable. Mr. President, we need to begin now. We need to touch all those, in fact, even, business corporations, high net worth individuals. I'll give an example, Mr. President. In the 9th Senate, I was approached by the DG of a security agency. I will not name that agency. He told me there was the need for them to have a surveillance of a city, a very, very key city in this country. I will not name the city for security concern. And he said they submitted their budget, but they could not have funding for that project because of a positive of funds. That he felt, instead of going to Mr. President, I should see how I can assist. I said, well, no problem. How much do you need? He told me the amount. I said, we cannot provide all what you need in 1 year. He said, yeah, it's okay, because this project is a big one. It should be phased. So I provided money for the project for year 1, year 2, and year 3, and the project was concluded. Now, in that city, wherever you go, whatever you do, you are safe. Even if you are related on the street, they watch you, they know what you are doing. So, I did that. So, by the time you touch all the state governments, they can also do this kind of arrangement in their states, with collaboration of the security agencies, the military, and so on and so forth. So, it should be a collective effort. If you deal with the problem here and you don't deal with the other side, they will run from one end to the other. So, Mr. President, it's something that is doable. We should do it so that we can secure our country. I say so, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. A time in the life of every nation, organization, or individual when you come to a decision that first you recognize that this is a turning point, and two, that it must not be business as usual. Mr. President, the events of the last 2 weeks in our country with respect to insecurity have further shown that on both sides, something needs to be done. On the side of government, we have seen increased efforts at trying to combat these insecurity challenges headlong, while on the part of the Nigerian people, we have also seen concerned positions. We have seen frustration. We have seen well-founded fear that unless something is done urgently, we may be losing it as a nation. Yet we must not. Mr. President, as a parliament, we are not unaware of the efforts of the federal government in moving so swiftly to secure the lives of those who were kidnapped. In fact, we have witnessed an unusual situation at the level of recovery. While those were happening, we're also being told of different narratives. But what is important is that a lot of people kidnapped, at least from Kwara through Kebbi to Niger, a lot of them have regained their freedom. At what cost is what a lot of Nigerians are wondering. Some Nigerians have said government negotiated to get them out. Those are facts that only the people in charge of our security can be able to confirm. But one thing that we have also witnessed and recognized as an official position of government is that government has not been paying ransom. What is good news about this, that no one can run away from, is the fact that these people regain their freedom without a life being lost. However, while Nigerians are celebrating the fact that no life was lost on the side of those who were kept in captivity and who regained their freedom, Nigerians are not smiling at the fact that they did not read or hear about lives being lost on the part of those who took them into captivity. In other words, some Nigerians have argued, show us that a bullet was shot to regain this freedom. But we are not insisting on one style or approach. Government has always said, and it is said all over the world, that you combine both kinetic and non-kinetic approaches to address this issue. But what is important today is the fact that we are not dealing with a conventional war situation. As of 2015, we had these terrorists posting their banners in more than a few local government areas in our country, including the local government of the distinguished Chief Whip, Senator Mongono in Borno State. But today, it is also an achievement on the part of government that no territory in our country is under the custody or leadership or control of these terrorists. However, it does not mean that the war has ended. What we have witnessed is a shift in strategy and style. There is no army anywhere today as a standing army to be confronted by our military. positioned at one place or hoisting their flag anywhere. But they have gone underground and they are operating as cells. So what this means is that because it's no longer a conventional warfare, there's also the need for us to continue to adopt styles that will make it easier for our military to engage, these people. And I also want to appeal to our colleagues in the parliament, both at the federal level and at the state level, that this is not the time to grandstand. It's about security of lives and property. I witnessed some of the debate by some of our colleagues on the floor of the House of Representatives yesterday. And one of them was specifically calling on this National Assembly to shut down. As far as I'm concerned, a call for the National Assembly to shut itself down because of this insecurity situation is a call for abdication of our constitutional roles. We're part of this government, and we did not start this problem. Both the executive arm and the legislative arm of government, as it is, inherited this insecurity problem. But that must not be an excuse. We must deal with the problem, and I'm happy all hands are on deck in both the executive and the legislative arm. This Senate set up an ad hoc committee on National Security Summit, partly to address some of these issues. But today, the motion raised by the deputy leader in some of the prayers also raised certain issues. Some of the issues raised will require specific investigation. Part of my own suggestion, Mr. President, will be by the time all our colleagues would have contributed and we are taking our decisions, let us engage all our committees, security-related committees, the Senate Committee on Defense, on Army, on Air Force, and on national security, even interior, and special duties, should come together and conduct a joint investigation into some of the issues raised in this motion. What happened in Kebbi? Was it true that soldiers were withdrawn just hours before the attack, and some other specific issues? I think they need to be looked into, they need to be investigated. However, I also feel that if we are calling on the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces to rejig the security architecture of the country, which has become necessary and which a lot of Nigerians are also clamoring for, I feel that it's important in-house for us as a Senate to even look into our own arrangement. As a senator and as a principal officer, I am not impressed, for instance, with the performance of the Senate Committee on Security and Intelligence. And I feel that that's an area that we need to look into. Some of the motions that the single senators are bringing, some of the concerns being expressed by some of our colleagues are things that I believe our Committee on Security and Intelligence could have been, on top of. So at this point, I think that should be part of our own starting point, to even look inward and see in what areas we can do the rejigging ourselves to give us the credibility to keep calling on the executive arm of government to rejig our security architecture. I thank you so much, sir.
First and foremost, I wish to associate myself with the submissions made by the previous speakers, especially the one that commends Mr. President for acting swiftly that led to the immediate recovery of the kidnapped Nigerians, as opposed to the protracted and lingering approach when the ugly scenario of the kidnapping of Chibok schoolgirls occurred that led to the fact that up to now, some of the Chibok schoolgirls were not recovered. Mr. President needs to be commended for acting swiftly that brought about the immediate recovery of these kidnapped Nigerians. Then, Mr. President, I equally wish to commend Mr. President for ordering the withdrawal of police escort attached to BIPs. Mr. President, I also have four policemen attached to me in my house. Mr. President, as it is now, majority of our policemen are attached to BIPs, thereby depriving the Nigerian police of performing their main role of policing the country. So this order by Mr. President will go a long way in freeing the police to perform one of their primary constitutional functions of policing the country. Because as it is now, even the ratio that is recommended for policing by the United Nations, we cannot meet it. Then the second one is to call upon, maybe when it comes to the prayer, I will add an additional prayer for more recruitment into the Nigerian police force, in addition to the withdrawal. Because security is a primacy of governance. The social contract that the people had with the government is for the people to surrender their sovereignty to government and in return expect that their lives and property will be protected. So that is the primacy of governance, and if we can debate this issue of security for the whole day, we are doing the right thing, because that is the essence of governance. Thank you.
Aliyu M. Wamako remains my name, Sotonos. Mr. President, I would like to second this motion moved by Senator Ashuru in entirety, including the praise therein. President, this motion cannot come at a better time than now, with challenges left and right on both divides of this nation. I think the motion is more timely and therefore deserves to be endorsed by all assembly. Mr. President, the memo has beautifully captured all the problems and challenges. But Mr. President, we are never short of such beautiful write-ups. What is required most is, Mr. President, what action or actions are we taking to address these challenges in our country? Mr. President, instead of rescuing the abducted, why can't we be capturing the bandit and their team leaders and so on and so on? I think that should be what we should be after, not merely rescuing the abducted. It's a country, it's a nation. Mr. President, instead of repelling, we should be pursuing this bandit in their hideout, whereby they get them, bring them to order. Mr. President, we have heard so much on this narrative all over this in the 8th, 9th, and in the 10th Senate now. It is time now to act. We have spoken enough. We have said enough. And the nation has been watching us as their representatives. What are we going to do next? I'm glad in the prayer number 10, he asked for a special committee to review and advise the Senate, but the time given to us is too short. Mr. President, let it be 4 weeks for this committee to report back to the Senate what can be better done. Mr. President, I happen to be one of the security committees in the 9th Senate, and I can see the gadget available in most of the senior security heads. They can watch in the offices the comfort of all the forests in this country. What is missing then? Why can't we make effort to take this forest one by one and come and get them finished, that the nation can have peace? Mr. President, I very much believe that we can do it, and we must do it. Finally, Mr. President, I'm afraid I have to disagree with the idea of withdrawing police aids to BIPs. That is going to put another danger, because the the BIPs are going to be the next target, and the again, government will come back and revert the policy. Instead, Mr. President, the number of military attached to retired generals, there are too many. Let's do something there as well. Not only the BIPs, because there are also BIPs. President, like I said earlier, we need to get our act together and see what best can be done to secure our country. Our people have suffered a lot, and they are still suffering. We are living under fear. And action in the last few days is even increasing that fear. Those of our schools, boarding school, it doesn't make good image of us. We should not submit to this bandit. Instead, they should submit to the power of government and governance. Mr. President, I so submit. Thank you.
My name remains Abamoro. Mr. President, I want to thank my colleague, Deputy Leader of the Senate, for bringing up this motion, which I think very timely and very apt. And Mr. President, it is a little scary here that one community after the other, from one state after the other, continues to come under the hammer of bandits. Mr. President, if you look at what we have here, the narratives and the prayers, they appear to be recurring dismal. It has always been calling on security agencies to intervene and to prevent. But as has been noted, Mr. President, we've discovered time without number that our security agencies and agents react to these situations, attempt to rescue abducted victims, and sometimes you never hear anything again until another abduction occurs, and then we begin to hear stories of efforts to rescue them, sometimes bordering on negotiated ransoms and the rest of them. Mr. President, some of these tactics are becoming increasingly, obviously counterproductive, because it would appear as if perceived or real payment of ransom embolden these bandits to continue in their exploits. And so, Mr. President, I think that the time has come, like the leader has said, for this country to develop a comprehensive security policy that seeks to prevent these acts of banditry and kidnapping rather than reacting to situations where our people and communities have been affected. Mr. President, like I said, here it is Kwara, it is Kebbi, it is Niger States. But of course, we will not forget in a hurry the historic outcry at the killing of over 200 citizens of Yelwata in Benue State. We will not forget in a hurry also, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the killings in Okwamaju in Otukpo local government, Umogidi in Otukpo local government, Ikobi and Ubobi in Apa local government, and of course, Ojantele and other communities of Apa and Agatu local government. So, Mr. President, I think that the time has come when we must sit down together to realistically review our tactics in view of the increasing wave of banditry and kidnapping in this country. And I'm happy to note that it couldn't have come at a better time that the National Assembly, the 10th Senate, for instance, has initiated an ad hoc committee to comprehensively review the security situations across the country with a view to collating information and ideas from Nigerians as to what specific problems, unique problems that communities have across the country, and of course, to come up with a comprehensive recommendation that will inform a comprehensive and of course an effective national policy on security. And so, Mr. President, while we are doing this, I think remedial actions must be taken by our security agencies to at least redirect the narrative of this insecurity across the country to save the lives and the property of Nigerians. Thank you, Mr. President. I so submit.
Writer George Orwell made a very profound statement, which I will quote. He says that in times of universal deceit, telling the truth becomes a revolutionary act. We are being told every day to be patriotic. We are being told here that we shouldn't say anything against. We are being told that, oh, you shouldn't talk about the past. You should focus on the present. Yet, on this floor, rather than focus on what we're supposed to talk about, we go back to say, oh, during 2015, oh, the Chibok girls happened, and oh, we are now rescuing people. People were not rescued at that time. During Chibok, 17 local governments in Katsina were not having parleys with bandits. People in Kebbi were not leaving all the rural areas and coming to only the urban areas to stay. People in Niger were not being kidnapped. So why do we need to? At any time we need to talk about the present issues of today. We go back to start to look for excuse for our failures of today. I only want to say, let us do the right thing. We're not blaming this government for what they are finding itself, but it is the government in power, and they should do the right thing. What are the right things? We take only one example. The governor of Kebbi said that somebody ordered troops out and people were kidnapped. Till today, nobody in Nigeria knows what happened. And no question has been asked. And we're sitting down here as a parliament, and we turn and we talk. Yet, somebody is responsible. If I'm the commander-in-chief, I will call the army commander in that place and the head of the army and say, if you don't get me the head of this person, who withdrew the troops to put all these children in jeopardy? Then you make an example of him. That is how a country is run. A country is not run on pacification. A country is run on confronting issues. I rest my case.
I want to associate myself with the submission of Senator Abaribe. When distinguished Senator Ashiru brought this issue up, just that he tried to do a comprehensive work of going through all the insecurity situations in the last few weeks. But there are certain salient points that we ought to bring out for the attention of the Senate. For instance, whether it is true, the social media report that the Brigadier General Oba that was murdered because he revealed his location via WhatsApp and even told them how he should be rescued. And it is said that there was complicity and that somebody within the security agencies sent the location to the bandits. And the bandits went there and captured him. It's not easy for a general of that nature to be captured and killed in a war situation. The country loses a lot. And then in the case of, is it St. Mary's or so, in Kebbi State or what, the school? I know I'm talking about the one that the soldiers withdrew. Where? In Kebbi Matters. So, distinguished colleagues, there is a story. The governor was crying out that they had credible intelligence that the school was being targeted by bandits. They even gave notice that they were on the way. And so soldiers and security services went to the school. I've seen pictures, brought out the children and taught them how to defend themselves. And I've seen those pictures. That the moment those bandits arrive, what you do is, as soon as you notice that we have come, you go down on the floor so that you will not get caught up by the crossfire. They brought out the children to the football field. I have pictures. And the children were taught different skills of how to escape the situation. So they went to sleep. By 4 a.m., the soldiers withdrew. By 4:30, 30 minutes after, the bandits entered and operated unfettered. I think that's what Senator Abaribe is trying to say. You have more explanation? Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
On a very serious issue. Yesterday, you will recall, Mr. President, that out of concern, I raised this issue with you, and you said this motion was being considered. So I'm happy that the deputy leader has brought this. But let me observe, just as the way Senator Abaribe also touched on that briefly. Please, this is one of the most trying periods that our country is facing. Even in battle times, in war times, it's not easy to lose a brigadier general. It's not easy to lose a brigadier general. Even in battle times, it's not easy to see this mass of communities being displaced, harassed, taken hostage, and people killed in several parts of our country. Our democracy, right before our eyes, is being rubbished. Our country, right before our eyes, is losing prestige and respect, and is endangered by the day. So this is a very serious motion. And I want to briefly object to the way and manner some of the comments from the other side have been on this very serious issue. This is the Senate of the Federal Republic.
Sorry,
please. I'm coming. Let me make my views, please.
You will learn, but which other side? There's only
no.
There's only one side.
The mover of the motion. I'm coming. Before I say, please. The mover of the motion talked about.
This one, Senator Dixon.
But when we are here, please, let's not talk.
Not as if this Senate is an extension of the presidency that when you come here and comment on a situation like this, please, I respectfully request that all the players that talk about commendation, with all due respect. Yes, please. I'm doing all of that now. Let us.
Time is up.
You have recognized me. You don't want me to conclude my thoughts. The country is seeing me. The world is seeing me. I will take my seat. Nobody's happy.
If you want to conclude your speech, be guided from the chair. The reality is that this affects all of us. So there's nothing like this side or that side. Immediately, no. Well, the person watching you outside will think that the Senate is in two divisions. On the issue of insecurity that we are discussing, we are one side. The entire Senate is one. So there's nobody here that will come and say that this side is treating the issue with levity, this side. And if you say we should not commend the president, it simply means you should tell the president to sleep. When a man has canceled his international trips and stayed back to face the issue, what you are seeing is an attack on Nigeria by our enemies. And it's even as I'm speaking with you now, I understand that yesterday, in the same community or so, that they went there and then abducted a pregnant woman with the 11 others yesterday night. You don't know when it will come to your village. So there's nothing like this side and that side. We are all Nigerians, and we are all concerned with what is going on. So I would prefer that we concentrate on solutions. And what we are saying is that we must rise to the occasion. This country cannot bow to despair. Neither can we bow to fear. People are perpetrating this. They are human beings. Senator Garba, maybe you may wish to highlight what you saw on the video you showed me today. Please stand up and do that.
First of all, colleagues, I am very happy and sad at the same time. Happy in the sense that the 24 girls from MAGA in my own constituency that were abducted have been released, and they are all safe and healthy. They have not been molested. But distinguished Senate President and colleague, we must search our minds. As we keep saying, sir, we know who these bandits are. We know where they are. We know what they want. What is left for us to conclude? If we are going to do negotiation, do it and finish it. If we are going to fight, we'll fight it to the finish. What is the big deal? We know everything. Why are we covering? Why are we covering all these things? And I want to align myself with distinguished Senator Abaribe. Sir, the issue that must take precedence is who withdrew the soldiers from MAGA primary school, on whose instruction. The world want to know, Nigerians want to know, we that is particularly affected, we want to know, sir. Because if we don't get to the bottom of this incident will be repeating itself. Thank you very much, the Senate President.
And of the Senate, and by implication, you have spoken on behalf of Nigerians. We are, even as I speak now, we are still facing the attacks. This is orchestrated, this is organized, and this is meant to damage the image of democracy. And all these things started with just a tweet from President Trump. People are trying to justify or call on the American president to come here and attack people. And they started by talking about religious genocide. I want you to understand that when it rains, it does not rain on only one roof. Any issue about war, all sides will suffer. So when somebody is talking about it, then you know very well that there is nothing like targeted Muslims or targeted Christians. The bullets that are being sprayed will not distinguish who is a Muslim and who is a Christian. I want you to understand that. If we have miscreants who are going after Christians, then we go after them. We have miscreants who are killing Muslims, we go after them. Nigeria is a multifaceted religious country. We cannot come here and try to say, oh, one group is being attacked, the other group is not being attacked. What we are seeing here is an attack on all religions. It's an attack on all citizens of the country. It's an attack on the democracy of our country. It's an attack on Nigerian citizens. It's an attack on Nigerian government. So we must rise up to the occasion, debate and point out the reality. Let the world know that we want to be safe. How can we as a country choose insecurity? We cannot. And we cannot choose fear over peace. We cannot choose despair. So when we are discussing, we must take a very strong exception to certain acts that have happened, whether it's from the security agencies or otherwise. But when somebody says, commend the president for even the initiative of ensuring the release of over 58 children, one child that is released is a big relief to the whole country and to that family. 58 is something we should commend. And then at the same time, you're encouraging him to go after others. He has counseled all engagements. He's sitting down now and tackling on a daily basis. Even yesterday night, he met with security chiefs up to 4 hours to see how he can bring this situation to an end. And Nigeria is very fast. And these people are moving around, going after soft targets. So let us, and like Senator Garba said, he said in their communities in Kebbi State, that they know the bandits, they know where they stay, and they know what they want. And they are mingling with people, and that even some of the local government authorities are negotiating with them and paying them money. So these are things we must bring out and then forward to the executive. Let the executive also join us to find solutions. Even the security agencies must also know that even the locals know these people. And they can work with the locals to fish these people out. It's a very serious issue. It's not something that we trivialize and try to say this side or that side. That's the only problem. There's no side. There's only one side on this issue of security. Only one side. Only one side. Senator Oshumole.
When you invited Senator Abaribe to speak, you went on to reinforce the sentiments expressed by Senator Abaribe. Abaribe is not of APC. And so any attempt by anyone to distract us from what is obviously a national issue is a disservice to our collective desire to stand firm together and find a solution to what is clearly a national problem that have been there for over 20 years. Mr. President, I am not ashamed to affirm that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is doing his best.
Correct.
He's doing his best. That we have not yet there doesn't mean that he has done anything knowingly, whether by negligence or lack of interest. Under your leadership, Mr. President, you have encouraged us to approve not once, not twice, special supplementary budget to support our armed forces, arising from the request of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Those requests were not meant for the armed forces to buy ice cream. It wasn't meant for them to do tobola in military nightclubs. They are meant to strengthen the armed forces, to re-equip them, to give them access to acquire modern technology, and to train, and even now, directive to recruit more men and women into the armed forces. Therefore, there can be no question that President Tinubu is doing his best. In moments like this, the devil can come in and make us so confused that we might turn against ourselves and then by default allow the enemy to behave as if he's happy at an upper hand. However, what I think we should do, which under your leadership, even in your statement, you have already encouraged us to come up with such suggestion, is in the light of what we now know, what can we begin to do differently and contribute those ideas to support the executive initiative? What there, for example, is, and you amplified it, even in greater details than any one of us in this house, when you revisited the statement by the governor of Kebbi State. Nigerians are entitled to know, and it is no longer national secret, the commander of that area who ordered that those men be withdrawn. It is to be a national secret to be kept within military cycle. Nigeria should know the name, and the person should be brought to justice under the Terrorist Act. Number two, Mr. President.
Is it the view of the Senate that the issue you just canvassed now, that should form part of our prayers? Yes. Those who support say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. That is taken. Yeah. We will form part of our prayers.
Mr.
Yes,
President, under your leadership, we have passed laws that impose death penalty on terrorism. This parliament is on record as having done that. Mr. President, I am troubled when, after all the efforts that security agencies and the prosecuting authorities have to invest to secure conviction, because unfortunately the state cannot behave like a mob. So you have to prosecute, follow due process. I am troubled by the conflicting judgment by various high court judges, where the law says act of terrorism, if convicted, shall attract death penalty. No judge has a right to pronounce less than that. It is only when you have implemented the law, interpret the law, not the sentiment of a judge, the will of the people as conveyed in a law, then the president can decide if there are reasons for him to do so, whether to commute or to reduce. How can an offense that carries death penalty, a judge reduce it to 20 years in prison? That is not acceptable. But he has violated the laws passed by the parliament. Number three, sir, and this will be the last.
Has that happened in Nigeria already?
It has.
That
somebody convicted of terrorism was sentenced to 20 years in prison.
No.
Pardon?
No.
What was it? Can I be allowed to land? The civil senator, you have, Mr. President, that is the leader of Assad.
You have 30 seconds.
A terrorist group called Assad.
You have 30 seconds to land, but please be guided.
Okay.
Let's concentrate on the issue in discussion.
I will be guided, because we have to look at a holistic solution. Because these are sentiments that confuses our people. For example, somebody allegedly kills someone who came to attack him on his farm. And because he killed in self-defense, the man was sentenced to death. But there is no evidence that those who have come to attack farmers and kill farmers, there is no evidence that they have been so convicted, sentenced to death. These are some of the issues we have to deal with, so that nobody is given any excuse to misunderstand what is clearly a national challenge. I believe that President Tinubu inherited a situation that was already so complicated that no one of us, if we were to become president, can decree insecurity out of existence overnight. But we can begin to mobilize discernible action. We can begin to re-examine some of the discontent but also call on the security chiefs. I am sure my colleagues here, you listen. When the chief of defense staff said there is what they call war economy. That is to say, there are officers who may well be making money from this crisis. And that is why the issue of accountability, even on the part of the armed forces, is now a requirement that our relevant committees should be able to work on and ensure that we do not have saboteurs in the army or those who don't want the crisis to end, such that, we keep appropriating money, people are getting richer, and more Nigerians are being wasted. But I conclude by saying, all of us must commend the president for what he has been doing. If you see his face on television, you know that the president is not sleeping. What we need is our collective wisdom to reinforce his own limited wisdom, because nobody has monopoly of wisdom, so that together we can find a holistic solution. This situation calls for national unity. It calls for collaboration. We must not talk as Christians or as Muslims. We must not talk as Northerners or Southerners, Easterners or Westerners. It's a national challenge, and we need a national solution. Thank you, Mr. President.
Prayers are multifaceted. What is happening internationally also affects us here. This renewed strength of the insurgents is as a result of the statement by the President of America that he will come in and strike to remove them. So what they are doing is also very political. They want to see how they can cause as much insecurity as possible so that it will encourage America to come in and then remove the government for them. Because as far as they are concerned, what they want is government. They are not interested in the lives of the people. So as we are speaking here, we should realize that removal of government affects, in quote, both sides. I don't like to use the word both sides. So people should not think that there is any side to insecurity. There is only one side, and that side is the protection of Nigerians. And the second aspect is that we must rise up collectively behind the leadership of the country. The president must be encouraged. We must rally around the president to do his best to minimize and stamp out insecurity and make Nigerians to sleep well. You can see in a day, you can have up to 4 or 5 of these things. I just mentioned that even yesterday night. So it's not something that the same community that those children were returned, they've gone there to go and kidnap 11 people, including a pregnant woman. So we must realize that we are under attack. We are under attack. And so we can't feel safe here. So withdrawal of policemen, yes, for certain VIPs, they could be replaced with the civil defense. They are still armed, but not police. Police must go back to their constitutional duties immediately, while we encourage them to train more. So, distinguished Senator Yaya, I don't know whether you have anything to add, so that we can round up and go into it.
Mr. President, was to congratulate you for having the wisdom and the presence of mind to allow this Senate to discuss these issues of national security at length. From the time when you bent over and allow us to bend the rules of the Senate to allow me to raise an issue of national importance regarding the abduction of the schools in the Maga Secondary School. Today, you have kept your eyes on the ball regarding the issues of security in this nation. Mr. President, I would also like to express our gratitude to the President and Commander-in-Chief of this nation, particularly not just about postponing or withdrawing from his intended international assignments, but also being there for the nation. I'm physically taking charge of all the activities that led to the freeing of various convicts who have been victims of the terrorists. I thank you and I thank the President. But there is one issue that is most important. This issue was raised by both Senator Wamako and Senator Abadibe. The issue of rescue is not enough. We must unite, like you say, to go after these criminals and bandits. We all know who they are. If we don't know who they are, how are we going to be able to negotiate and secure the release of some of these bandits? We know who they are. We know where they hibernate. We know the routes that they follow from one location to another. This is common knowledge to everybody, to the people who have been harassed and intimidated by these bandits. Everybody knows who they are, where they stay, the routes they follow. Why can't we nurture and move and garner the necessary strength to pursue these people simultaneously wherever they are and make sure that we eliminate them? The state is supposed to be the bastion of force. It has in its control legitimate use of force. We should not, under any circumstances, allow bandits to intimidate the nation, to send fear into our communities, to disband our own educational institutions. The threat, the education of our children, which is one of the most fundamental rights of the people of Nigeria, has now been put under question mark. All schools, particularly those cited in rural areas, have been asked to close. What message are we sending to the nation, to the people of the world? That there are some ragtag bandits who have defied the government and forced the government to close all its educational institutions. That does not speak well. That does not speak well for the image of this country and for the honor and dignity of our own people. The issue is not the rescue, Mr. Chairman. It's not the rescue. Let's sit down, coordinated, go after these people and eliminate them and make sure that within a period of time, we make sure that this thing is all over. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I've not witnessed one, I've not seen one, and I've not heard of one. So that needs to be clear. At no point have you teleguided any senator from saying anything on this issue. Number two, at no point has any senator, either from either side of the aisle, have been on any side on this particular motion that is currently before us. We are on the same page. We all believe that the security of this nation is sacrosanct, and every one of us are concerned concerning the current situation of security as far as the country is concerned. Mr. President, on this note, let me commend the President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for at least ensuring the release of the 38 Eruku community in Kwara State and the students of Kebbi State that have been released. I want to commend the President, and I believe that he's doing everything within the ambit of the law to ensure our country, Nigeria, is secure. Mr. President, I want us to know in this Senate that Nigeria is at war. Nigeria is at war because these terrorists, the Islamabad, the Boko Haram, and all others are not known to our system. They are not known to our system. They are not Nigerians. They are not Nigerians. They are coming into this country to disrupt the peace of our country. They are not from Nigerians. So if we have external aggression coming in to fight us, that means we are at war. And I want my colleagues to understand that. And again, we can finger international conspiracy in all of this. Because there are some videos that you will see helicopter dropping arms in some pickup van. Where is that helicopter coming from? Who owns those vans?
So, Mr. President, Nigeria is at war and international conspiracy is involved. So we should all understand that. And we should not trivialize this matter. Because at 2024, the security report before us shows that we have the lowest number of kidnapping and insecurity in Nigeria. 2024. And by November 2025, everywhere is agog with kidnappings and banditries and everywhere. So, Mr. President, I'm calling on my colleague. Please, let's keep an open mind on this matter. Let's speak to the truth of this matter. Let's address this issue as a Nigerian. It's the collective responsibility of everybody for this country to be well secured. And I mean it and I say it so that nobody should come and say that anybody on this side of the aisle is speaking in favor of anything. We are concerned. The president canceled 2 international engagements, all because he wants this country to be secured. And he's doing it round the clock. And also, sir, I commend the men and women of the Nigerian military because they are father and mother of a particular family. They are father and mother to some children. So if they are on the war front, defending this nation, the integrity and the sovereignty of this country, I think they need to be commended. I commend them. And for the investigation which we are carrying out on the issue of Kebbi, since Sunday morning, these terrorists notify that they are coming to that school. So, deploying military, leaving by 1 o'clock, it should be an holistic investigation. There's something going on social media now. They are even announcing the next town, villages they are coming to. We should not just put it by the side. So, Mr. President, distinguished colleague, I believe this Senate will have taken the bull by the horn. The only thing is that we should expedite action on the security summit we are putting together. We should expedite action on it. We should move fast. Because if we have any position paper, if we have any document to put together, to give to the executive, the action must start now, and we must do it as soon as possible. I saw summit.
Just before Senator Mustafa says it, the Northwest Zonal hearing of the Committee on National Security Summit will take place this Saturday, 29th of November 2025, at Umaru Musa Yaradua Hall, Moritala Mohammed Square, Racecourse in Kaduna by 10 a.m. Senators from the Northwest Zone are to please note that the attendance is of utmost importance. This is signed by distinguished Senator Babangida Hussein Yuba, Walen Gazare, and Chairman, Northwest Zone of this Zonal Security Summit. So, just as you are talking, I think we also have another one from the yes. We have, when distinguished Deputy Leader, when is the one of North Central?
Tomorrow morning.
So tomorrow in Jos, North Central will be having their Zonal Security Summit. When these reports are all in, initially we fixed 1st December for the national, but we have to move it because it's too close. So we can compile, including what we are discussing here now. So that when we bring out the position paper of the Nigerian Senate on the insecurity in the nation, particularly in the last few weeks, it will be very comprehensive. And it's not something we joke about. It's not something we joke about. So let every person that wants to comment forget about partisanship and just go ahead to say, I'm a Nigerian and I don't like what is going on. If your own president can stay for 3 weeks sitting down, not sleeping, you should know that the country is under attack. And this is a time we must all come together. This is not a period for blame game. And you want to talk, look at the list of soldiers that Senator Ningi has shown me who have been murdered already by these same bandits. And the police who have been murdered by these same bandits. So who is safe? A brigadier general in the Nigerian army will send a message of his location and somebody will throw complicity, send the location to the bandits, and the bandits will go there and pick him like a rat. and then slaughter him in a gruesome manner? You have a right to be angry. This is not the time to say this one is on this side, this one is on this side. There is nothing here. After all the other political parties have perished. Senator Musafa, say something so that we can move on.
National importance raised by Senator Lola Shiru, who happens to be my colleague senator from a Kwara issue, but unknown to us, injury to one is injury to all. And in security issues like this, if we isolate ourselves, we say, it does not affect me, it's my neighbor, it will gradually escalate to your doorstep one day. I want to, first and foremost, let this hallowed chamber know that the event of the last 2-3 weeks is a thing of sad reflection on every one of us. It has no tribe, no religion, no party, no state coloration. It is a thing that all of us must have a sad reflection towards. But as God will have it, through the intervention and collaboration of the federal and the state government, we were able to start seeing a thing of joy as a day before yesterday, when the release of the kidnapped worshippers in Kwara, followed by that of Kebbi now. What I must say here is, in hostage negotiation, the first thing you do is to get the release of whoever that hostage is. After then, you can now address other means of apprehending and also bringing the culprits to pay for their injustice. I want to also use opportunity to commend the federal government and the state governments in being very proactive in at least bringing some form of happiness to these recent victims. We will not say that's the end of the sad event taking place in our country now. We must urge for proactiveness from all sides of the divide. And this further brings us to the issue of enhancing our military and the security agencies. It is time for this hallowed chamber to put a very strong voice to probably once and for all passing a death penalty on anybody involved or associated with kidnapping. Because, Your Excellency, as governor of Akwa Ibom State, I know one of the deterrents you passed then was death penalty for kidnappers. I think this hallowed chamber must come very strongly on that now, such that we must bring a very strong deterrent to people involved in kidnapping or associated with anything that has to do with kidnapping. And we must also look inward to start giving incentives to our gallant men and women of the security agencies. Because if you look at it, there's a growing trend now, sir. The younger generation are beginning to have less interest in joining the armed forces. And if a nation that the younger generation are no longer interested in joining the security agencies or the armed forces, then who is going to protect us for tomorrow? So I will also urge, when we are considering other prayers, we should look at suggestions that will bring incentives to the men and women of the armed forces. Like in advanced countries like America, you will see young ones rushing to join the military. When you ask why, they will tell you one of the incentives they enjoy is free scholarship for them to study from their first degree to even their PhD degree. So we should start looking at incentives like that in our armed forces, and also to make sure that those who are culpable of these dastardly acts are brought into proper justice, for justice to reprimand them properly.
This very major setback to us as a country. Every day, every night, my heart goes to one Nigerian called Leah Sharebu. She could have been my daughter. She could have been your daughter. I don't know where she is now, but I'm pained that she has become a metaphor for what we are witnessing in this country. I think we need to commend our Commander-in-Chief, who has clearly shown a lot of seriousness in addressing this concern. He has stayed behind to lead from the front. What we are seeing now is that President Tinubu is leading from the front, and that clearly illustrates the seriousness that this issue has brought to us. I said earlier on this floor that this intrusion is like measles. It spreads. If there is pressure in Kebbi, Akwa Ibom is not safe. If there's pressure in Niger, Cross River is not safe. No part of this country is spared. So this represents the measles that I said earlier. Let me also commend the gallantry of our security forces, some of whom have paid the supreme price fighting that this country shall have peace. It's not easy when we lose our loved ones. My heart bleeds when I read the report about the fatalities about some of our officers, some of whom were the finest that we can have as a country. But I think this incident persuades us to prioritize our security. I've always held the view that security should be everybody's concern, and that we must all lead from the front. We must all lead from the front. We cannot leave security only to our security and forces, as it were. We must lead from the front. We must join hands. And that's what I've always said, so that Nigeria must emphasize policy and not politics. The missing link that we have as a country is that we emphasize politics over policy. And consistently I've been very clear that we should place emphasis on policy, not politics. So in respect of insecurity, I think there is a greater challenge for us as a collective to work together. And I wonder, in this age of technology, why are we having these setbacks? In this age of technology, why are we having these setbacks? And that brings me to the issue of arrest and prosecution. As a person, I don't see how death penalty, all these sanctions act as clear deterrence, as it were. A major mileage for us is to intensify the framework of arrest and prosecutions. If the bandits are arrested, if their sponsors are exposed, if they face prosecution and punishment, I believe that we have scored huge successes in this fight. So I want to emphasize the deployment of technology, and we intensify the framework for arrest and prosecution. On behalf of Akwa Ibom South that I represent, we share in the concerns of Nigerians. We salute that our president is leading from the front, but we challenge other Nigerians to join hands and also lead from the front. Let us not play politics with this very serious matter. Let us all join hands, because we have no country if insecurity lingers in this country. This is a proud country. This is a country that is hugely endowed. I thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Nigeria is at war. That's our reality. And in a situation like this, the leadership of the country needs every possible support from all citizens. It is also time for unity. And let me say, Mr. President, that our armed forces are doing their best.
Senator Zam, approach the chair.
They are doing their best with the little funds and resources available to them. Mr. President, very soon we'll pass the budget for 2026. I will urge this Senate, and indeed the entire government, to ensure that we continue to improve on the resources available to our armed forces. And then we insist on value for money. Give them targets, set targets and timeframes. But we must continue to give them more and more resources and make them more accountable and transparent. Mr. President, this administration, since 2023, has continued to give more and more resources to the armed forces and other security agencies. And this is because the National Assembly has been supportive too, because we need to approve it before it is finally made available to the armed forces. We should do that, and I want us to remember that today we get more revenues into the coffers of the federal government of Nigeria, and indeed across the country, the states too. Why can't we invest more out of these revenues that accrue to us? Because the security of lives and property, everyone knows, is the fundamental reason why a government exists. And no investor, even a local domestic investor, will invest comfortably in a country where the security is compromised. Talk less of foreign direct investments. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, we don't need to go to any part of the world to beg anybody to come to Nigeria to invest if we secure our country. Why? We are over 200 million. That's a huge and massive market for any product. And in fact, we excel everywhere in the world. Our challenges are within our country. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, we can continue to buy arms and ammunition and platforms from other countries, but that is not the way to go in the long run. Because we bought the Super Tucanos. What happened? So the sensors that we needed on those Super Tucanos were not made available. We have therefore every reason to devote so much resources and make the right policies and legislations for DICON, the Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria, based in Kaduna, to function. The president, when he came into office, the DICON Act was one of the first acts he signed. And today, we have some companies that have to do with defense industries trying to come into Nigeria. We have to encourage them. We have to provide the enabling environment through legislation and right policies for them to stay and produce those kind of arms and ammunition and platforms that we require in our country. They will be cheaper, they'll be more available. Sometimes when we even pay for the purchase in other countries, what will come to us in 1 month could be there for 3 months, or 3 years rather. Why? Politics. Mr. President, so far, the situation in the last 1 month in Nigeria is tense, is tough, and requires full support, complete and total support for the leadership of this country to lead and fight and win against the insurgency and banditry in the country. But one of our colleagues said, this is not to be left to government alone or to our armed forces alone. Citizens have roles to play, but we need to give the citizens the courage to reveal information and protect such citizens who volunteer information. Thank you very much for the privilege to speak.
First of all, sympathize with my colleague, Senator Ashuru from Kwara State, who has had a share of what my senatorial district of Benue Northwest has been going through in the last few months. You will recall that in June this year, Yelewata was in the news where bandits came and killed over 200 of my constituents. Indeed, Mr. President himself paid a condolence visit to Benue State. I noticed, Mr. President, that what is lacking is not the political will from Mr. President. What is lacking is operational capacity and strategies. Within my senatorial district, which has become the epicenter of the crisis in Benue State, soldiers are deployed. In my local government of Gwe West, we have enough soldiers on ground. But as I cried here one time, the manner of posting is the issue. Soldiers are kept along the major road from Makurdi to Naka, while the hinterland is left open. And they only react when there is an attack. The bandits are there. The military know that they are there. It's not as if they are not aware. These are human beings. They are not invincible. They have driven away my constituents and they are living in their own villages and in their own houses. So, what is stopping the military from pushing them out? So, there is an operational laxity on the part of the military. So, that has to be addressed. I commend them. Yes, they are human beings. There may be some logistical challenges. But I think Mr. President has done so much in deploying. There are no soldiers in Wales, for example. There are about 5 military checkpoints, but they are all on the road. So what happens? So in one of our resolutions here, we should at least provide a line to encourage the military to be proactive and not reactionary in dealing with this situation. That will be my comment for now. I thank you very much.
And there is communication with those military checkpoints. They could see the bandits as they are moving with their motorcycles or whatever towards a particular area. Am I right?
Mr. President, yes.
So the world has gone digital. Oh. And then we should also go digital. We can't sit here to talk about military strategy, but I think it's something we can suggest, that we don't need to be physically present in a location before you can see that location. So these are some of the issues that we'll put together. Senator Sani Musa.
Issue of security, especially what is happening in Shiroro, Munya, and Rapi local governments then, which happens to be my constituency. But today, almost all the local governments in Zone C, that is Niger North, have been afflicted with this serious issue of insecurity. I know Mr. President is doing very well, and he deserves commendation for the fact that he has to shelve his international engagements and to be having briefings from service chiefs almost every day. But we must also help Mr. President. We also have to help the armed forces. If a kidnap is done today, where hundreds of kids are being taken, and then the same hundreds of kids are being negotiated upon to get their return, what we're supposed to do is to ask ourselves, who is the intermediary between those armed bandits and those that want these kids to be released? You want a solution. We know where the solution is, but we are not bold enough to face it. They use phones to call people to negotiate and even tell where these people would go to pick those guys, those children they have released. My colleague is talking about technology. If our armed forces don't have it, our security or intelligence agencies don't have it, then we are not yet serious about tackling security in this country. Because for every phone call, there's a coordinate. And these people are there sending messages, sending clips on social media, making our country a laughingstock. If we want to help Mr. President, it is not only Mr. President that will give directive. The Senate is a legislative chamber that will, whatever resolution we take here is binding. Why must we wait until president? Is it everybody that will go to the president and ask for order? We should give that order here. Who are the people negotiating? We grab those people first. And then let them tell us how they link. What is their link with these bandits? It should not be business as usual. Families are suffering. Some people are living in their comfort places, making phone calls with these bandits. Can't we identify them? We can identify them. How do we do it? The gadgets we have bought for the National Security Advisor, the gadgets we have bought for telecommunications, they will be able to tell us where all these people are. But we are here, we are sending game blames. Who are we going to blame if this thing consumes all of us? It started from one local government. It started from Borno. In one local government. And today it's spreading everywhere. No state is a moon. I don't want to put politics in this thing. No politics. It's a reality. If I have my brother, my son, if he's doing this thing, he should be picked. The law should take its course. Families are suffering in this country. And every time we sit down, we're even confusing Mr. President. We're confusing him. We're supposed to help him. How did the funds originate? They will arrest 58 and release 58. No gunshots, no arrest, nothing. And then tomorrow we wake up to another banditry. Why should it be like that? Mr. President, it is on you as our leader to tackle this thing head on without any fear or favor. We will stand for you. We voted for you. We should not be here playing politics with the life of this country. We must own our responsibilities. Mr. President will direct, but we have to do our own to help him to navigate well. The United States of America have come up with an issue that there's insecurity in Nigeria. It's not for Mr. President to handle alone. The two chambers of the National Assembly are supposed to take this issue very seriously. We're supposed to be a legislature that will engage another legislature. I'm not against who has gone to America to talk, but we are the true representatives of the people. We know what pinches us. If a senator or a congressman will talk, a senator and a congressman in Nigeria are supposed to talk and engage them. They represent their own people, we represent our own people. We should be given the opportunity, Mr. President, to engage these people directly on ways and means they think they can give us intelligence informations. As they did before, there was kidnapping in Nigeria of an American. And they came, rescued in our own land. What are we talking about? I rest my case, Mr. President.
The questions are so many, but few will be asked. These bandits, who are they? Are they really Nigerians? Then where are they operating? Within Nigeria. What of their captors, particularly the hostages? They are here in Nigeria. Then we are now talking of technology. Which technology? As a nation, we have a nation with full military power. That's what we call Nigeria, which all of us belong to. Then some tortured, wretched boys are now holding us to ransom, and we are celebrating them. During the last regime, our former president is here now. We nearly impeached the president. But this president has spent a lot of his time and fund on this military. But the same military refuses to yield, to even perform. And we are now owing a lot to our people. The military architecture, I retired at an equivalent of a lieutenant general in the service. The military, that is the soldiers, that's the army, the navy, and the air force. They don't take any other apart from the commander-in-chief or anybody that is representing them of higher caliber. That is a general. That military architecture around Mr. President is what is affecting the command structure of what is happening today. The minister is not a soldier, a retired general. The minister of state, all of them are businessmen. The NSA is a retired policeman. And do you know what the soldiers call us? There's a soldier here retired. I think he has gone. They call us bloody civilians. These soldiers, they call people like us who are carrying the same gun, even superior gun than them. They call us bloody civilians. They don't regard us. And that is what is affecting us on ground there now. The CEC needs to look at its military architectural design around him and do the needful. If not, we will continue to waste money because they will not take order from any other person other than their own general. We are almost in military rule and we are at war. He should stand as he's a commander-in-chief because he listens and is spending on them. That is what can really solve the problem. Today, almost 120-something countries have already legalized carrying arms by sane and respectable people. I think it is time for Nigeria to allow us to be carrying arms. If not, these boys, you see them, you will just be vomiting. In the church, where this man is discussing with us, was discussing with us, these are small boys carrying guns. If all of us, particularly the elite, and few of us who are okay, are carrying guns, it is war against war. These boys will run away because there are not too many. It is time for us to stand and make a law that it is criminal for the negotiator because the negotiators are even eating deep into what is happening today. Where is the bank where they normally withdraw such huge of money to settle them, including the banks, including the negotiator and the kidnappers? They are all criminals and they should face death penalty. I submit, sir.
My name is Asuko Ekpenyong, Senator representing Cross River South. Mr. President, before I go into the substantive part of this motion, I would like to state here, for the avoidance of doubt, and for clarity, that from what I have gathered in this chamber today, what I have canvassed from all senators here, this Senate is one and is one-sided on this issue of insecurity. All 109 members of this Senate are on the same side, irrespective of tribe, religion, ethnicity, party, state of origin. And this Senate is committed to resolving this insecurity that has plagued this nation for over a decade. Mr. President, on to the substantive matter, the motion from Senator Ashiru. He mentioned various things during his motion, but three things stood out. One was when he selected or pointed out the local vigilante to commend them. Distinguished colleagues, security enforcement is most partly about intelligence gathering. Gathering of intelligence, analysis of intelligence, and disseminating this very intelligence. The local vigilantes are the grassroots. They live amongst the people. They dwell amongst the people. They live in rural areas and in forest communities, hunters, etc., farmers. We must find a way to integrate these local vigilantes into our security operations for communication and for effective networking. Number two, Your Excellency and distinguished colleagues, this has been addressed, but I feel it is extremely important and cannot be addressed enough. We as a Senate must identify and communicate to the people that elected us to be their voice. That part of the report that states that military personnel were withdrawn from that school in Kebbi. We must identify who gave the command and why, and that must be made public to the Nigerian people. Finally, and also as important, just like the last speaker mentioned, there is need, as Senator Ashiru alluded to review the Nigerian firearm law. We must get back to our people who elected us to represent them and find out their feelings on this. Distinguished colleagues, every man deserves the right to protect and defend his life and that of his family. And bringing a knife to a gunfight can never be a fair fight. We must discuss this. We must get back to our people. Mr. President, these are the three observations I would like to lay here. I rest my case. Thank you, sir.
I've listened attentively to the comments by my colleagues, and I appreciate them all. But I want to dwell briefly on the issue of confidentiality of the plans and strategies by the military. The military should be silent on their plans and strategies. What is happening between the bandits and the military is akin to games theory. In a games theory, the parties involved want to outdo the other. And the easiest way they can outdo you is to know your secret. I want to believe that there is a need for the military to be as silent as possible on their strategies and plans. Mr. President, I'll give you an example. A few days ago, we were made to understand that some of the forests that are hiding, that where these criminals are hiding, are going to be cordoned off. And the implication of that is that they will strategize. All we should have done is to go into the implementation without making the pronouncement in the public domain. Your Excellency, on this note, I want to appeal to the Chief of Defense Staff, the service chiefs, to be as silent as possible on their strategies. All we want is actions. I thank you.
Another video right now happening in Zaria. Today is 26th. Yeah. A commercial trailer passing through Zaria around Ahmadu Bello University, loaded with bullets, on his way to supply to the bandits. For one reason or the other, there is along Zaria-Sokoto highway. Today, now,
the bullet was dropping.
The bullets were dropping and on the road. The driver did not know. And was still going, and the bullets were dropping. I hope he has been apprehended. So I use this opportunity to call on the Commissioner of Police in Kaduna State to quickly send a team to go and escort the trailer loaded with bullets. Bullets are dropping on the road. The people are crying. I think we should stop further discussion on this matter and go into the prayers, because there is a lot of work to be done. So, there's no need to, whatever you are going to say, Senator Plank, these bullets that are dropping on the ground, we need to make a resolution on this now, before the bullets find their way into the hands of the bandits. Are you going to say the bullets should not be? Okay, just say something now, because I don't want anybody to feel that it was shot out. Let's just use 30 seconds and say what you want to say, because these issues are too serious, and security really should not be discussed in the open like this.
Yes, sir.
But because of the peculiar circumstance that we have found ourselves, look at it's here.
Yes, sir. President of the Senate,
get the IG and send it to him, and then let him.
President of the Senate, my distinguished colleagues.
No protocol. Just
yes,
say something.
Yes, sir. That I am a victim. That 3 times kidnappers have been in my village and even killed my junior brother. Sir, I want us to watch at the sources of strength of the bandits. The sources of strength of the bandits, to me, kidnapping is one of the sources of fundraising for bandits. Because all the monies they normally get from kidnapping is to finance or buy weapons to come back as bandits. Then, sir, we are concerned about buying equipment. As much as we have equipment, and a large number of our youths are unemployed, they will be the one that will ridicule the usage of the equipment. But if we sweep numerous numbers of the youths and get them engaged, employed as police, sir, the ratio of Nigeria to civilian ratio is 1 to 700. 1 policeman to 700 people. Most of our villages are empty. There is nobody around for you to really feel secured. We're thinking of a vigilante. The vigilantes, at the end of the day, they remain like beggars. Because they don't have salaries, they don't have source of funding. If we will rely on vigilante and not paid pensionable security, we will not get a solution, sir. My wish is that in as much as we are going to spend on equipment, we must sweep our youths and engage them as security. It will take away those that will volunteer to do this job. I believe that unemployment is another critical part. I believe also that kidnapping is another way of raising funds for bandits. I want to, as a representative of Plateau Central, I want to thank the president for one thing, sir. This is the first time that when we are affected by these ruthless bandits, this is the first time that we see government presence condoling with us. We lost a first-class chief some times ago. Nobody came. Up to date, we have traditional rulers that are kidnapped. Nobody comes around. But this time, at this session of this regime, we have received sufficient empathy. I believe that if government will have empathy on victims, it will help to create hope in the minds of our people. I thank you.
Mr. President, for those who follow social media, particularly the Senate Forum, when Onanuga, the president's spokesman, wrote that the president has canceled his trip to South Africa and Angola, I was the very first person to forward that to our forum, to our platform, and went ahead to say, this is the right thing and the proper thing, and therefore is commendable. I'm not an APC man. Mr. President, at times like this, moments like this, when you honestly see very clear design by some foreign powers to take over the affairs of this country, if you're a Nigerian, and a decent Nigerian, and a patriotic Nigerian, and you think that does not matter, I think you need to question your patriotism. You need to question your citizenship. Mr. President, at this point in time, what we require is a collective concern. This is not a military regime. This is a democratic regime where in the military you say the box stop on the table of the president. This is democracy. The box stop not only on the office at the desk of the president, the box also stopped on the table of the Senate president at the head of legislature. Now, following from what Sani Musa said, you see parliamentarians, the affects lawmaking body in Nigeria is the Senate. And Mr. President, you see us asking ourselves, looking for possible answers. Mr. President, the standing committees were not created for ceremonies. The standing committees were created to answer some of the questions arising from what senators are asking. Mr. President, we cannot sit here and security questions were raised as to what happened in Kebbi. Why did it happen? Who are we asking? Don't you have Army Committee? Who are we asking? Don't you have Navy Committee? Who are we asking? Don't you have Defense Committee? Who are we asking? Don't you have Security Committee? Mr. President, it is abnormal. And for me to sit here and begin to see my colleagues raising questions that we are the ones to provide answers for. Mr. President is just one president, elected there and the vice president. We are all elected. We are all accountable to the people. Just like Mr. President is elected, we are also elected. And we are also accountable to our constituents. But Mr. President, we need to rejig how we do things. We need to tell ourselves the home truth. Mr. President, it's just like a mirror. You put a mirror in your front, you see yourself, breaking the mirror will not change that image. No matter how you do, what you see is what you get. What you are is what you get. Mr. President, we need to be proactive, and we need to come with a very clear perspective how to deal with these issues. Mr. President, you and me discussed yesterday that the widow of late Uba said nobody talked to her after her husband was gunned down. Nobody has communicated to her. Who are we going to ask? Are we going to tell the president to call commander-in-chief to ask? Or are we not having committee of the army here that will call the people? Look at this interview by Mrs. Uba, Musa Uba. What did you do and what did you not do? We learned from Governor of Kebbi State that officers were withdrawn. And we lament. Are we not having standing committees that are supposed to call these people? What did you do? And we keep passing the ball from Maradona to Pele. It is not going to work for us. Mr. President, just yesterday, 5 police officers, 3 of whom I know personally, were called broadly murdered in my constituency. What was the fault? They went to separate a fight between bandits and farmers. And these gentlemen were called brutally murdered. Mr. President, by your leave, I will have the honor to call the names of these officers. They were so brutally killed, not in the night. Not in the night. Broad day. They were summarily murdered because they were not carrying Spiro weapons. Only one of them was carrying AK-17. The other was carrying a Vision. AK-47. Only one of them, the DSP. And the names of these officers, I will call their names. This is the reality of Nigeria. DSP Ahmed Mohammed, killed. Assistant Superintendent Mustafa Mohammed, killed. Inspector Amahil Yunusa, killed. Inspector Idris Ahmad, killed. Corporal Isa Muazu, killed. In my constituency, local government Darazo. Mr. President, you can imagine the agony that these families are undergoing. Mr. President, in the time past, we're having some of the best military formations, military officers. We're having some of the best police officers and police formation all across the globe. In fact, at a particular time, Major General Agwai got an outstanding honor as one of the best serving generals in Africa. And today, Mr. President, did you ask yourself whether the Agwais and the Dambados of those years and the Njumas, several of them that are still alive, whether anybody has called these officers to say, please, gentlemen, where did we miss it? Why were we the very best military country in Africa? Why were we the best police country in Africa? And where are we here? So it is a collective endeavor, Mr. President, and as long as we continue to see kidnapping as just a crime, we're not going anywhere, because kidnapping has so much been commercialized. People are leaving their jobs in cities and villages, and kidnapping now is one of the best paying jobs in Nigeria, all across. In fact, kidnapping now pays more than oil. Kidnapping pays more than sitting as a senator or sitting in the villa. And therefore, as lawmakers, what do we need to do? We now look at kidnapping and say we must amend our laws to say kidnapping is a terrorist act and must therefore be treated as such and must therefore carry the death penalty. And that is some of the ways we have to go. Mr. President, the entire security architecture of our country we need just to sit down. It is not about talking in plenary here. It is not talking about one committee or the other. We must be able to find out. It's not about just national security. Every committee that needs to answer his name must answer his name here in plenary or in executive session. And therefore, going forward, most of the questions arising from our colleagues is not to the president, it's to ourselves. And therefore, the Senate Leader Office, with the understanding of the SP, must find a way in a situation like this, before we even peruse to the matter in details, we need to raise the chairman of committees to give us a synopsis of what they do, how they do it, And then following from that, then we can give our opinion, our commendation, the way forward, the way this. But if every day we come here and we do some of these things that we only do it probably to appease our constituents, but the matter is not solved. Appeasing our constituency is just secondary. Getting peace is primary. People want to turn our country upside down. And we are looking at it as a joke. Day in, day out, a parliamentarian in Congress will make a whole contingent of federal government go there. Member of Congress, that is an equal of number of House. One person.
Member of a subcommittee.
Did you elect Trump? Did you elect him? The answer is no. As they are doing, we must also do. We are here because people elected us. And we are not answerable to any member of Congress, and we should not. But we can partner. We can partner. If they want to hear from us, they should hear from us. If we want to hear from them, we can hear from them. I've been to the Congress 3 times. I've been to UK Parliament 3 times. All on equal pedestal. Therefore, we must know our honor, our dignity. People will think that we have no standing. We have standing. We are the largest country in Africa and the biggest black nation on the face of this, and therefore, leadership must be provided. Let's just look inward. Let's put our acts together, and then we dare any outside power. But we have to put our acts together. Where the leadership comes begging, we must make it right. Where they need to be commended, we must commend them. The Nigerian people we must inspire them to believe what we are saying. Every day we talk like this, we talk like this. You go to the media, you go to the press, it's all talk. And that is true. But we need to change these things.
Mr. President, I want to actually commend my colleagues for showing deep concern and extensively discussing this very, very important motion. Section 14.2 of the Constitution is very clear. The purpose of government is security and welfare of its citizens. This problem of insecurity has bedeviled this country for a very long time. This chamber, that is the Senate, should not be lamenting. As you said, should be looking for solution and making appropriate recommendation. Fortunately, this president is responsible in terms of the issues of insecurity as he exhibited by canceling his trip to G20 in order to attend to this very serious problem. I want to really add on what the former Senate President said, Senator Ahmed Lawan, on the way forward. I have been the chairman of Committee on Army in the 9th Senate. And during his leadership, we had, I think, 4 summits on this issue of security. Unfortunately, it didn't solve the problem that time. Recommendations were made and efforts were also made. Distinguished colleagues, let us use this opportunity to give the president or the leadership the necessary support in order to address this very serious problem of insecurity that is expanding to a level where government will sit down and negotiate with criminals or bandits or terrorists. The Nigerian Armed Forces and other security agencies are putting in their best. So, I'm really not comfortable with blaming them. Nigerian Army, for example, is operating in almost 32 states as it is now. They are overstretched. They don't have the number. The whole of the Nigerian army up to now are not up to 300,000. I'm the one. 177. Okay, it is the police that. So the Nigerian army is less than 200,000. Nigerian police, less than 400,000. In fact, our security agencies all put together, including civil defense, DSS, whatever we have, it's not up to 1 million. In Egypt, the total population of Egypt is about 100 million. They have 1 million police. They have 500 active armed forces. 500,000. And they have 800,000 reserve. That is Egypt with 100 million. Okay. And distinguished colleagues, in every family in Egypt, if you have an adult that is up to 18 years or above, one of them must be in one of the security services. That is part of their rule. So, the solution is what I have been talking since I was the chairman of army. There are 4 things that need to be done urgently on a short-term, medium-term, and long-term basis. Number 1 is training. Our armed forces and other security agencies are not well trained for the challenges that we are facing now. The Nigerian army is trained to fight an enemy that is identifiable. But this time around, they are fighting an unknown enemy. That's why you hear they say unknown gunmen, because the gunman is not known. We have to train them adequately. Secondly, and this is also very, very important, is equipment for the armed forces. Mr. President, as I am speaking to you now, the Army aviation sector, which was strengthened by the current president, the coming of Mr. President changed the dynamics. But he is handicapped. Right now, the Nigerian Army aviation has only 2 helicopters. They ordered for 12.
No, I don't want us to go into details of trying to itemize what they have and what they don't have. Because the security chiefs will still appear before us. Let them come and tell us what they have and what they don't have, and then tell us what they need in a closed session. In a closed session, then we'll take it from there.
Well,
so let me thank you for your contribution.
No, let me land.
Point of order.
Please.
Okay.
This is very, very important.
Yeah,
I said it before. Other aspect of
point
it.
of order. No, he's about to land. Just let him land. Let him land.
Other aspect of it, which is very important. I try to bring a motion on that, and the issue of remuneration of the armed forces and other security agents. As I told you last time, in Africa, where they have army, the whole of Africa, Nigeria's base salary for a private is second to the last. They receive 100,000, and this is because the president, this current president, when he came in and we raised this matter, he doubled the salary. And do you know what? A private Nigerian army now is receiving 100,000. Their daily ration before was 1,500. Now the president increased it to 5,000. No. Mr. President, please be patient. This is very, very important.
We are not yet there.
Okay.
When they come before us,
let me tell you another problem.
They will tell us what they need.
Sir, with all due respect, generals don't complain. You don't expect a general to come and tell the Senate here.
No, we will compel them to discuss freely with us.
The only thing that they can do is to track. But we don't have satellite images and capacity.
To your knowledge, we have a...
Sir,
I was a governor. I used to track criminals up to Kwara State, up to Taraba, up to Jalingo.
Mr. President.
So it's just the wheel.
Mr. President.
I pick them up in any part of the country. So please, don't go there. How did they even...
I'm giving you information, Mr. President. Please.
But I'm saying...
We have 4 satellites. Nigeria has 4 satellites. And we don't have satellite coverage or surveillance 24 hours. We don't have it.
Distinguished Senator, can I thank you for your contributions? And plead that some of these details should be discussed in closed session. Point of order, Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, you always give or accord the respect that they deserve. It's important that we all take note of Order 8, Rule 3. And if I have your permission, sir, I will read.
Please proceed.
Order 8(3) says 15 minutes before the time appointed for the termination of a sitting, the President of the Senate shall interrupt the business under discussion. And unless an extension of time is moved, its resumption shall be appointed for such day as the senator in charge of such business shall name. And sub 3B deals with same subject matter at the committee level. So when a senator is actually on his feet making a point, it is not being rude, either on my part or on the part of a presiding officer, to stop such a senator for us to be able to move the motion for extension of time.
Point of order is sustained.
Thank you, sir.
Please proceed to move a motion for extension of time.
Take the opportunity to quickly join my colleagues to thank the President and the state government for the efforts, and including the community leaders that led to the release of our children, both in Kwara, KB, and so on. Having said this, Mr. President, my concern is that we are not actually interested in just releasing. We want to stop it and prevent this from happening. And to do this, Mr. President, is very simple. There is the first most important part that we have to do as Nigerians, which is missing right now. What is this? Every Nigerian, whether you are a politician, you are not a politician, you belong to the ruling party, you belong to the opposition, wherever you exist, we must accept that we are Nigerians and we are having an existential threat. All of us must come to that page, because that is the first stage of defeating our enemies. Mr. President, if we are able to move this, and this is a narrative that has to go around not only in the chamber, on social media, out there in other countries, we have to be clear as Nigerian citizens that this is who we are and we are together on this. Mr. President, the second most important thing we must identify as Nigerians is that, look, there are a category of Nigerians that are actually the first enemy before these criminals. Who are these people? One, Nigerian citizens in our various communities who are informants and collaborators with these criminals. Two, individuals in the military cycle, in the political space, who are collaborators, who are informing and assisting these persons. They are the number one enemies of this country. Mr. President, we must identify this as such and deliberately have an aggressive approach to come after these people and openly get them out for everybody to see, regardless of who is involved in this. Number three, Mr. President, which is what I have noticed first. I just came back from my constituency, and luckily, the GOC from Ibadan that controls Kwara, the commander, they were in my constituency, and I went to join them. Yeah, I'm happy you guys are here. Large number of military people. What's the plan? And they told me how they are moving, what they are going to do, and so on. Mr. President, the challenge I've seen is directly linked with what Zama said. Yes, they are obeying the instruction of the commander-in-chief. That's why they are in my constituency. But how are they operating? I think there's a gap here. Why is that a gap? Maybe we are all getting it wrong. These guys are trained in conventional warfare. Their SOPs, their understanding right now is probably we are not at war. And they operate based on their convenience and based on what makes sense to them. Mr. President, it's time for us to declare that we are at war, and this military guy need to be given a different type of approach in combating the enemies. And lastly, Mr. President, our legislatures, we've been doing our best as far as supporting the military complex with appropriation. What I still think is high time that we change our focus and, in fact, invest more in our security. Because if the country is not secure, we can't have education, we can't have healthcare, we can't have infrastructure, nothing will happen. So security should be priority that concerns everybody right now in this country. And as legislators, we are going to be part of this thing. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Look at the prayers. Call on communities in Kwara, Kebbi, Niger, and across Nigeria to remain united, vigilant, supportive of security efforts while resisting internal collaborators who undermine national security. Commend President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and security agencies for their rapid interventions and urge them to sustain coordinated operations until all abducted persons nationwide are rescued and perpetrators apprehended. Urge the Federal Ministry of Works to commence immediate reconstruction of the Edofian Omu Aran Eruku Egbe Kabafera Highway. Mandate the Nigerian Army, Police, DSS, and Defense Intelligence Bureau to intensify intelligence-driven operations, including area surveillance, forest combing, cross-state collaboration, and community-based intelligence systems across Kwara, Kogi, Kebbi, Niger, and other hotspots in the country. Call for the establishment of a joint task force covering the Kwara-Kogi corridor with forward operating bases in Eruku, Babanla, Okero, and Isanlu. That is prayers 1 to 5. Those in support of prayers 1 to 5, as enunciated herein, say aye. Which of them are you amending? Okay, so let's start with prayer 3.
We should urge the Federal Ministry of Works to immediately commence the reconstruction of all federal highways within these bandit-operated areas across the country. Particularly the bandit-affected areas.
Any seconder?
Yes.
Yes, Senator Isuraso.
I rise to second the motion. The amendment of the prayers as moved by Senator Sani Musa, I so second.
Those in support of the amendment say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Sir, last time when I came here, there was a forward operation base that was proposed, and the land has been acquired in my district, but it has not taken off. So I want this prayer to include forward operation base in Wasagu town, for which land has been acquired.
Construct it.
Land has been acquired.
Construct the prayer the way you want it.
So that the army should...
No. It says call for the establishment of a joint task force covering the Kwara-Kogi corridor with forward operating bases.
Yes.
In Eruku.
Yes.
Be at Eruku. Bambala, Okeru, and Isanlu. You want to add your own?
Yes, and Wasagu.
And Wasamu?
Wasagu, sir.
It is advised the federal government to strengthen the local vigilantes to be able to respond swiftly to similar attacks in future. This should also include a review of Nigerian firearms law to reflect the current security challenges, as we have over 175 countries where responsible citizens are permitted to own guns or to carry arms. Those in support of prayer 8 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So prayer 9, mandate the Senate to investigate the sudden withdrawal of military personnel from the Kebbi school shortly before the bandits' invasion and to report back urgently. Amendment, yes, Senator Binus Yaro.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues.
Any seconder? Yeah, distinguished Senator Ndume.
We said mandate the committees on defense and army to investigate the sudden withdrawal of military personnel from the KB school.
I don't know which one is more appealing, allowing 2 committees or allowing all our security-related committees. So allowing all security-related committees or allowing 2 committees, those in support of all related security committees of the Senate to go into this investigation and report back to the Senate in 2 weeks. Say aye. Those against say nay. Well, the ayes have it. Allowing only 2 committees to investigate and report back to the Senate in 2 weeks. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. So it means that they're allowing the Senate committee, all the committees related with security-related committees, is much more appealing to the Senate. Therefore, the Senate hereby mandates the Senate Committee on Defense, the Senate Committee on Army, the Senate Committee on Air Force, the Senate Committee on National Security and Intelligence, the Senate Committee on Interior, Special Duties, Navy, as we mentioned, and Police Affairs to come together, investigate that particular issue relating to the death of Brigadier General Oba and report back to the Senate in 2 weeks. Is that the view of the Senate? And oh yeah, sorry. The withdrawal of the soldiers from the school that they had credible intelligence on, and come back to tell us they should go into a holistic investigation of how the amendment of. We have put the question and it has been carried. You can only have additional prayers. Show me the distinguished colleagues. The committees on our joint committees on security-related matters in the Senate will investigate the circumstances leading to the withdrawal of soldiers from the school in Kebbi, few minutes before the bandits struck, and the bandits had a field day for over 2 hours to operate, even when there was credible intelligence. Therefore, the Senate wants to get into the root of it, and so all these related committees are to go into the matter and then report back to the Senate in 2 weeks. Distinguished Senator Nengi has also moved a motion that the circumstances surrounding the death of Brigadier General Oba, who also made a passionate call but unfortunately, his position was given away through electronic media that led to the bandits killing him. That should be added to this committee to investigate and bring back. So 2 major issues that worry us. And their recommendations will be taken very seriously. Those in support that this, the death of General Oba and the circumstances surrounding his death, be added to the committee for investigation. Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Now, the lead committee, before the additional prayer, the lead committee on this that will chair will be the Committee on Defense. And the issue is very serious. Sorry, Senator Yaradua, I didn't call you. Are you approaching the chair? We just noticed that you just came. Resolved that the Senate undertakes a diplomatic engagement with the United States of America and other allied nations' parliaments to strengthen cooperation on intelligence sharing, counter-terrorism training, and technological support in addressing Nigeria's security challenges. Those in support of prayer 10 say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 11, observe a 2-minute silence in memory of the departed souls of the amendment. Yes. Amendment, Senator Ani.
Yes. Submissions by our colleagues. And this is one of our best sessions on a very important topic and issue in the country. I feel, and that is the additional prayer, that the leadership of the Senate should be mandated to go and meet with Mr. President and brief him on these issues that our colleagues have raised and our resolutions. Otherwise, these resolutions will go through the normal channel of the CNA, SGF, and so on. And these are issues that are time-bound and time-constrained. So I want to propose that the leadership of the Senate, led by you, should meet with Mr. President and brief him on the resolutions and the views of the senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, a motion has been moved and seconded that the leadership of this Senate should immediately move to brief Mr. President on the very crucial resolutions reached in this all-important sitting of the Senate on national security, and brief the President on each and every resolution. Those in support that this be done, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. So, leader of the Senate, you will immediately get an appointment with Mr. President for the leadership to move to him and brief him accordingly, resolution by resolution. Because Nigerians want to get an end to this insurgency, and the Senate is very concerned. That's why we have devoted the entire day towards discussing this. It's not for nothing. Yes, just before additional prayer, the Senate leader has raised his hand.
Your directive is well taken. And let me just say that I'm actually rising pursuant to Order 1B of our rules. And the reason I have to do what I'm about to do, because I had to choose between bringing a motion or merging it to be part of what we are discussing now in the name of additional prayers. Sir, nothing is going to change unless we ourselves first change. And it's easy for us to identify with the call by Nigerians of Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief on the need to have a rejig or a further rejig of the security architecture. Of course, that will be part of our prayers. But I believe that we should start from inside. Sir, most respectfully, I refer you and our distinguished colleagues to Order 23 and Order 94 of our rules. And if I have your permission, sir, I will read.
Please proceed.
Thank you, sir. Order 23. Sorry. Order 23 provides for the duties of the office of the Leader of the Senate. But specifically, I refer to Order 23.2d, which says the Leader of the Senate shall liaise with committee chairmen and other functionaries of the Senate. More importantly, sir, Order 94, sub 4. Order 94 of our rules says, Order 94.4 says, all committee appointments shall be subject to periodic reviews. Mr. President, I stand on the floor today without prejudice to anyone, and yet without minding whose ox is God, to say that the provision, relevant provisions in our rule book, that committees should give reports of activities were not placed in our rules for nothing. It's for us to be able to guide ourselves. And we cannot be talking on matters of insecurity almost on a daily basis without our Standing Committee on National Security and Intelligence having a report either to my office or to this Senate, at least in closed session. I am standing, sir, to make 4 additional prayers. And with due respect to you and our dear colleagues, I would like to read them one by one. My first additional prayer is that this Senate resolves to dissolve the Standing Committee on National Security and Intelligence, as well as the Standing Committee on Air Force, with a view to reconstituting this committee within the next 1 week. That would be my prayer number 1. My prayer number 2.
Sorry.
Yes, sir.
Stop. Sit down.
Oh, you want to do that? Okay.
Distinguished colleagues are in line with our rules, that not much has been heard by way of report or intelligence from the Senate Standing Committee on National Intelligence and Security, and also our Committee on Air Force also seem moribund 2 years after. And therefore, he has made a motion that the 2 committees be dissolved forthwith for reconstitution. Minority Leader.
Tell the Senate President, the Senate Leader, that we take the action suggested as a second.
Those in support that there are standing committees on National Security and Intelligence and the Standing Committee on Air Force be dissolved forthwith for reconstitution in the next 1 week. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. As you noted, only one person said nay. Yes, go on to the next issue. The next issue. Implication.
Yes, sir.
The Standing Committee on Air Force and the Standing Committee on National Security and Intelligence. Both committees are hereby dissolved.
Thank you. Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, my second additional prayer is that the Senate resolves to give its standing committees on Army, Navy, Defense, Interior, and Police Affairs 1 week to brief the Senate in closed-door session on the activities of the committees. That's my prayer number 2. I'll let you.
Writing. Verbally or in writing?
Well, I'll say both, sir.
Both?
Both.
Minority
But
leader.
in closed-door session.
Minority leader.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I write to second the motion as ably moved by the Senate leader. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion moved by the Senate leader and seconded by the minority leader goes as follows. That our standing committees on the Army, Navy, Civil Defense, Defense, Interior, and Police Affairs are hereby given 1 week within which to brief the Senate on the activities, which of course will add to or minimize insecurity within 1 week in closed session.
Amendment.
Yes.
Mr. President, with all due respect.
I want the amendment. I don't want a debate.
That amendment should include all committees of the Senate. All committees of the Senate.
All committees?
Yes, to bring their report before the Senate, because we have not been doing that.
No, I'm saying that you can also add that as additional prayer. But this, because of the urgency of the security situation, because of the urgency of the security situation of the nation, we are employing our committees relating to security to ensure that they brief this Senate on the activities of their committees within 1 week.
And then the rest within 1 month.
And then you can also bring the other one up.
No, that's what I say. And then the rest should bring their report within 1 month.
Okay, well, I can add the two.
Okay.
So what he's saying is that while the committees relating to security, those that have not been dissolved yet, should brief the Senate within 1 week in closed session. All other committees of the Senate, all standing committees, should use 1 month to also bring in their reports. But I think that should be in writing. You understand? So any seconder? Distinguished Senator Oshimole.
All right.
Distinguished committees, distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded. An additional an amendment has been proposed by distinguished Senator Alin Dume, and that amendment has been seconded by distinguished Senator Adam Oshimole, that whilst the committees relating to security, as listed, should within 1 week brief this Senate on the activities of their committees. All other committees should within 1 month submit their reports to the Senate for us to be conversant with the works they are doing within 1 month. Those in support of the amendment as proposed, say aye. Because it's been seconded. Those in support of the amendment that we receive from security committees in 1 week and also receive No. You see, what he did, you can't separate them. Okay. Distinguished colleagues, on the first leg of the motion, that all security-related committees as listed should within 1 week brief this August Assembly of the activities which will help us to justify their existence, their functionality, and their efficiency within 1 week. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, on the issue of all other committees also submitting their reports within 1 week, 1 month to the Senate as proposed and seconded. Proposed by distinguished Senator Ali Dube and seconded by distinguished Senator Adams Oshimole. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. Distinguished colleagues, my ears are very good, so I can hear, and therefore, the nays have it.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues. Sorry, sir.
Order, please. Order, please.
We have done 2 out of the 4 additional prayers. Those 2 have to do with the legislative arm. The remaining 2 will have to do with the executive arm. And I will take the 2 together so that everybody will understand. Additional prayer number 3, that this Senate stands with Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria on his determination to decisively address and resolve the insecurity challenges undermining the safety of Nigerians and the security and unity of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And 4, that the Senate identifies with the popular call by well-meaning Nigerians on the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces to further rejig the security architecture of Nigeria.
Any seconder? Distinguished colleagues?
Amendment. Amendment.
Because it has been seconded, please let the amendment come as additional prayer.
Mr. President,
before you put it
to vote,
you should
hear me out.
Sorry, this is Senator Yao.
Majority will always have its way.
Sorry, this is Senator Dube, no argument. Senator Sahabi Yao.
Let's go by the parliamentary practice that once a prayer is moved and seconded, it should finish. The activity of that prayer should be finished before you bring in an amendment or another prayer. So it has been seconded. We expect my distinguished brother to bring either another prayer or forget about and go by what has been called for in the amended.
Well, Sahabi Yao, a veteran of the Senate, has given us guidance that once a additional prayer is met and seconded, that a question must be put by the presiding officer, and that any other thing that comes should come by a further additional prayer. So, distinguished Senator Ndume, I put the question, thereafter I come back to you. Those in support of the prayers proposed by the Senate leader, 1, that this Senate stands shoulder to shoulder with the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in its determination to minimize and eradicate insecurity and fight the insurgents headlong to ensure the safety and security of lives and properties of Nigerians on the one hand. And secondly, he should further that the Senate hereby calls on him to further rejig his security architecture for optimal results. Those in support of the two motions as additional prayers say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The two are carried. Clerk of the Senate, ensure that these things are well itemized for us to hand over to Mr. President as a candid opinion and the submission of the Nigerian Senate, which is done in the best interest of the nation. We are not interested in looking at anybody's face. We are interested in what can assist the president and what can assist Nigerians to sleep well. So I thank you all. First, Senator Ndume.
The amendment I wanted has already been overtaken by event because the gavel is down. But all I wanted to say was that it is our responsibility and to note that recently we screened the service chiefs. That is the rejigging of the leadership, where the president, after seeing what is happening, felt that the leadership of the armed forces should be changed. So I don't understand what the Senate is now saying, sending the message to Mr. President to do what again? To rejig the Senate leadership, the armed forces leadership, or to tell him, I agree with the first prayers, but the second one is my concern. The president needs to be supported by this Senate, even if we have to look for money to equip the Nigerian armed forces, because we can't run away from the fact that the Nigerian armed forces and other security agencies lack the equipment they need in order to execute this assignment.
Noted. Any additional prayer? Senator Mustafa, I told you that Senator Nduma is senior to you, so now you have finished. No. It didn't start in your time. It started in Nduma's time. So you have the floor. You have the floor.
In the light of the insecurity we are facing now, I want to call on the activation of what they call the reserve bench in the military or paramilitary apparatus. If there is, because it is easier to quickly activate a reserve bench within 2 weeks than when you are recruiting fresh applicants within the next 6 or 9 months. And if we've not been practicing that, then the security agencies and the military apparatus or the armed forces should start implementing their reserve quota. Additional prayers, sir.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that the reserve bench or reservists of the various armed forces in Nigeria be mobilized immediately to join in the fight against insurgency. So, we don't have it. Well, the motion has already been moved and seconded. Those in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The nays have it. Yes, Senator.
My additional prayer has to do with the Senate leader. That you direct the Senate leader to bring a proposed amendment to the Anti-Terrorist Act to include kidnapping as a terrorist act that will carry the maximum death sentence. That is my amendment.
Any seconder? Yes, Senator. A very serious addition has been made that the laws of the Federation now on terrorism, anti-terrorism, all laws relating to terrorism and kidnapping, that kidnapping should be the penalty for kidnapping should be changed immediately to carry the maximum punishment of death. This has also been seconded, that henceforth, kidnapping should first be classified as a terrorist act and which should carry death penalty. Secondly, it will now carry death penalty. And like Senator Oshumole said, it is not up to any judge. Once the offense of kidnapping is established, the death penalty must follow. There is no discretion as to what kind of punishment should be given, that the judiciary should adhere. So let me put a question. Those in support that that kidnapping should henceforth be described as a terrorist act, and that kidnapping should henceforth carry death penalty as a terrorist act in Nigeria. Say aye.
He is saying we have to pass the law. And he's guiding, that's what he said, that the Senate leader should bring.
There is a law. There's a law. There's a law. He's saying that we should reject.
He's not talking from his seat. He cannot talk there. Sadi cannot talk there. Sadi, you cannot talk there.
Yeah, Senator Adams Oshomole, whatever Sadiq said is deleted from our books because he was not speaking from his seat. So he's ruled out of order. So yes.
Rules of debate defines the role of everyone, including that of the Senate leader and the Senate president and deputy Senate president. And it says the Senate leader or anyone acting on his behalf shall, is in the rule. I invited distinguished Senator Sadiq to come and stand in for me, which he did. So my motion is that what he said be not deleted from the record of our proceedings. I so move, sir.
Good thing is that Sadiq said nothing. So your interpretation of the rule is hereby upheld. However, your submission is hereby rejected. So I proceed to put the question. One, that we should rejig our laws to ensure that the offense of kidnapping is classified as a terrorist act. Those in support of that say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Two, that in line with the provisions of the Terrorism Act, that the offense of kidnapping henceforth should carry the death penalty. Those in support that we should rejig, that the leader of the Senate should bring an amendment to the Act to ensure that the offense of kidnapping becomes a terrorist act, and in addition carries a death sentence without any option of fines of fine, and without any discretion on the part of the judiciary. Those in support say aye, and those against say nay. The ayes have it. So henceforth, the leader of the Senate, in the shortest possible number of days, please bring an amendment that Nigeria will henceforth classify kidnapping as a terrorist act, and also classify kidnapping being a terrorist act should now carry death sentence without option of fine. Is that the view of the Senate? Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. I think we have, so that we don't water down, the very crucial decisions we have made today. I want to thank all distinguished senators because the events of the last few weeks have been very disturbing, both to all Nigerians, to the international community, and even to our children in the diaspora. That the Senate has risen to the occasion today by spending a whole day to discuss this issue, by taking necessary steps today to strengthen, Mr. President, and strengthen the security apparatus of the nation is something very commendable. So I want to congratulate all of you and thank you for rising to the occasion and hope that our resolutions and all our amendments would lead to better security for this nation. Can we now rise to observe 1 minute silence for all those who unfortunately lost their lives in the last few days of marathon kidnapping and terrorist acts in our nation?
I want you to